Japan. You know, I met a beautiful lady who was one of our speakers dyan sa Quezon City International Business Conference. She flew in from Australia and she's leaving the Philippines on Tuesday, but she will always be back. She is the CEO and founder of the Academy of Entrepreneurs, Miss Paula Mills. Hi, Paula.
Hello, lovely to meet you guys. And a huge part of my heart belongs to the Philippines, so I was very happy to be at your beautiful event, and I hope to be able to contribute to many more amazing events and masterclasses that we can do, because Filipinos make incredible entrepreneurs and leaders. So whatever I can do here to help, you can count on me.
All right. We had a meeting yesterday, Paula, and we're exploring a lot of things. No? But you know what struck me most is your Academy of Entrepreneurs is, of course, on entrepreneurship. But behind that story is your observation that something was wrong with how modern education is responding to the needs of our times. Tell us more about that. What are your observations that could challenge the current perspectives of education?
Yeah, it's almost like the more you study, the less employable you are these days. So people put so much energy, time, and money towards the studies. And they go to school, they go to college, they go to university. And we see that the more the students study, the less jobs are out there, because 50% of what students study at universities offer jobs that no longer exist. So you've got that as an issue. Then you've got the trends of, artificial intelligence and technology, which no longer require us to go to the office and do a repetitive task. When we work, we need to be problem solvers. We need to collaborate, forecast trends, and organize a business that understand the customer's needs on that day and on the following weeks and months, and will always step ahead. And what's happened in the business world is that people have studied business from academics that have never had a business. Then they go through exams that aren't even relatable to the real world. Then they graduate with a bunch of pieces of papers and, quizzes. Then they get into the workforce and they're almost useless in many cases because they have no industry connections and no work experience. And then the industry is moving at a speed that, people aren't keeping up with. And if you look at cars 100 years ago, 100 years ago, we were using horses. If you telephone 100 years ago, my great-grandparents, for you to make one phone call, it would take 24 hours of connecting plugs and pins to the other side. And now we've got, foldable phones. But you look at education, it has not changed for 100 years. People go to base, sit in rows listening to a professor. But if you look at it, let's use a simple example, marketing. So digital marketing is so powerful. The teachers that teach marketing at schools and universities, they don't even have TikTok and LinkedIn. How can you be teaching marketing if you don't have, if you're not an expert on the topic? How can you be talking about e-commerce if you've never sold anything online? I've met with, deans of the business faculties around the world, and they're meant to be looking after, the business qualification. They've never set up a business. They've never converted a sale of one client. They have never paid business tax. They've never written a contract or reviewed or negotiated. How could they be teaching business or leading the future business owners? And then another issue that we see in the world, which for me breaks my heart, when we talk about business and entrepreneurship, we're teaching it to the business students that are learning academic. What about our engineers, our doctors, our architects, our photographers, our fashion designers, our app developers? These guys need entrepreneurial skills more than anyone else in the world, because they are the change makers. They aren't sticking to the standards of society. They are the creators. So this is my presentation when I ran at the Chamber of Commerce this week. Is education actually killing the future of our youth? Because
I'm a doctor of education. Is education killing our future? You disrupted our attention at that time because several people there are highly educated and some of them are academics. And then you were talking about reality. The reality is graduates are looking for jobs they cannot find, and employers are looking for workers they cannot also find. So there seems to be a mismatch. That's what you were talking about. Okay, so what are your proposition, Paula?
So I'm talking about that, Dr. Carl. I had a meeting with the Ministry of Education over in Costa Rica this week. And the ministry was telling me, and these were the minister and the vice minister, they were sharing with me some super interesting data. There are currently 4 million jobs in artificial intelligence that people in the world don't have the skills. There are 6 million jobs in cybersecurity right now where people don't have the skills. There are 4 million jobs in big data where people don't have the skills. So it's absolutely crazy how students can't find jobs, but companies can't find talent. And every day there's more universities being opened in the world, more courses, and the gap is getting bigger and bigger. So can I say what half of the solution is?
Yes,
The
go ahead.
solution is in master classes, short courses, and TikTok. TikTok is one of the best universities in the world. And I am so sorry for every university owner in the world, but you guys need to catch up, because as you're scrolling through TikTok, the algorithm is pointing towards the direction of your interests. So everyone that's watching, please be careful when you're scrolling through social media. Don't scroll through useless content. Scroll through educational content that will make you a better person in the space that you want to specialize in. So if you're scrolling through artificial intelligence, yes, Dr. Carl?
Yeah, I need to contextualize that.
Yes.
No, the YouTube University and the TikTok University can teach you unlimited opportunities. If you look for how to make a business out of food processing, maybe you can start with tocino or tapa. Then the next day you'll see longanisa, then so on, because everything is actually there.
Connections as well, Carls.
Yeah.
Because those influencers, if you start posting a lot of positive comments, they will connect back with you, and you could be doing, a collaboration with one of these influencers. And it could be for food, it could be for refurbishing house, it could be, I heard you guys talking about the electrical things for fire. You put together a course to help fires, prevent the, houses from having fire issues. Everything is there. You just need to be able to scroll and filter good content that is for you. And also, there's a lot of, what they call about the fake news. You need to be able to get it from, reliable sources. But it's unbelievable, the power of TikTok and YouTube, like you were saying. But I also believe a lot in the power of what you had, the events that you hosted on Friday with the Chamber of Commerce, because that brings people together. And from those relationships, it opens new knowledge, insights, and partnership opportunities. Because it is said that 78% of every entrepreneur's success depends on our network. So we also need to get out of the house and meet each other. And that's why we had, an amazing breakfast yesterday. We met on Friday having breakfast. And that, magic happens when you're face to face, but magic is not happening, in the traditional school system. The boutique colleges owned by leaders like you make people a lot more successful than those big universities with 30,000 students walking into a campus and learning from an academic.
You mentioned about the role of teachers. You challenge, what if there are no schools, there are no tests, there are no teachers, so everyone becomes self-directed learners. The top, for example, I agree with you, the top content creators. For example, there is a content creator from my province, Oriental Mindoro, Kamangyan. She's called Kamangyan. I doubt if she's even a chef, but she is probably the biggest culinary figure in the country, because she will just cook a simple dish in her farm, and then millions and millions of people. She has like how many? 15 million followers and something. Can you imagine the amount of money she makes from a simple skill of cooking something from the farm? And a lot of people are into it. We need school, but Paula is challenging the educational system and even the teachers and the parents or the student into learning beyond the confines of the classroom. Paula, give us some tips, as an educator that you are.
Before I presented at your conference on Friday, in the morning, I was presenting at the Parith conference. So Parith has amazing schools throughout the Philippines that is doing unbelievable work. Like, it's some of the best students I've met in my life, not just in the Philippines. And exploring, how do we turn the students, because we've been teaching at Academy Entrepreneurs has been teaching that for many years, teaching the students how to turn a problem in the community into a business opportunity, and how to, make a living by serving the world. And we were discussing the power of companies have so many issues. Why don't we send students to charities to volunteer as part of the class? Why do you go to school 5 days a week? What about if one day a week you don't go to school and you go to the community down the road from the school or down the road from where you live, and you volunteer and you will listen, I don't know, maybe to the stories of the single moms, and then you can teach them a skill, help them set up a business, and you will learn more in the process of trying to hack a solution than through any exam. So my tips for you guys, if you're looking at becoming an entrepreneur, first of all is understanding that entrepreneurs solve a problem. So you should never build a business to try to make money out of it. You need to make money, but the money will come on the second step after you've managed to solve a problem.
In other words, you don't play tennis with your eyes on the scoreboard, and money follows. Of course, you need that. Of course, it will motivate you more. It will enlarge you. It will grow you. But Paula, I want to say that it's about freedom of choice. You know, if I want to be a researcher, if I want to be in the library, if that's my style, if that's what I want in my life, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
But what Paula is trying to say is, if only students can have the freedom to choose how they will learn, what they will learn, and what they want to be, right? Just like I have a story for you, Paula. My daughter, when she was young, I found her in the sala and she was just so exhausted. And I asked her, why are you so tired? She said, yeah, because school is teaching me something I don't need in life. That's what she told me exactly. School is trying to teach me something I don't need in life. And then I got a little mad because, I'm sending her to a good school. And who are you to tell me that your school is teaching you something you don't need in life? And I said, give me an example of of something you're learning that you cannot use in life. She said, Pythagorean theorem. I mean, she mentioned that because she wanted to be a lawyer and she couldn't find the connection of that content to what she wanted to be. And then I realized to myself that, my level, I could not even remember, which she asked me, in what problem of life did you apply Pythagorean theorem, Daddy? How much money did you make out of Pythagorean theorem? And she was asking me relevant question. Of course, there are engineers who need that. But in her case, it's the failure to make her relate what she was learning to the life that she wanted to live. And that's what you're trying to tell us, Paula.
Yes. I've shared that with a few, conferences recently. I worked on a project in Australia where 74% of high school kids were failing in maths. To the classrooms, and we got them, this is close to Valentine's Day. And we're like, okay, Valentine's Day, everyone's always struggling to find, the perfect, gift for their partners. So why don't we all build Valentine's Day companies so we can solve this problem that, people have in a couple of weeks. So there was this gorgeous group that created 3D printers. So they saw that the school had a 3D printer. They bought pieces of plastic and it was so cool. They created personalized Spotify music list based on the person's interest. So you go into a website, you write this is, my boyfriend and my our favorite, couple song. So the list of 10 songs that represent our history of our relationship. Then they would create, unlike a QR code, Spotify has these little bar that you can also take a photo and then it goes to the playlist so that your partner, as they're driving the car, they listen to the music. So they solve it very simply, using resources that they had in the school. Dr. Carl, in 5 minutes, the kids had gone on YouTube and had figured out how to build the formulas on YouTube to calculate the profit and loss and how much products they need to order and the timeline for these, plastic sheets derived from China for the 3D machine to cut and print the bars to do these chains. And it's just and I looked at the school, I'm like, you're telling me they don't know numbers? They knew the formula and they hacked it into an Excel spreadsheet. So when suddenly numbers weren't just numbers, they were relatable to their business and their interests, the kids were thriving. And this is what we need in the world, is you doing what you love and linking it back to the real world. And using a case of the librarian, we need librarians, we need them literally. And not just for example, a librarian in a library, like both my business and your business and education, we need to have everyone with librarian skills to find the courses that we build. But how about if they're using artificial intelligence that goes into the drive and when they type the keywords, it will pop up all of the resources.
Yeah.
Or about, an algorithm that if the person has read, 3 Harry Potter books, the 4th one, it needs to be in the same genre. There's no point of you giving them an entrepreneurial book if they really of the magical books. So it's not about all of us straight away becoming an entrepreneur, but it's having the mindset of solving problems, predicting and integrating technology just to make your life easier.
Yeah, it's not something, we're in the same ground. You have your master's degree. I have my doctorate degree. We're highly educated. We are not against education. That's something clear. We are not against education. We are just challenging education to adapt to the changing times. Okay? Asking students to memorize was good maybe 30 years ago when there were only encyclopedia. All right? I would not forget a day in my life that time we had to memorize all the currencies of the world, all the presidents of the countries, all the department heads of our government. And all of them are dead now, Those we memorize. And that's why I will look back and say, why did I memorize all those names? Why did I not spend my time learning problem solving that early age, entrepreneurship at that early age, or empathy at that early age? You're right. This education was right for its time. Tools to make it easier or to make the energy of learning focus more on what is relevant, which you mentioned, Paula, is emotional intelligence. Please tell us more about those.
So emotional intelligence is the heart of every person's success. You can know everything in the world. Like, you could be the smartest person. If you can't emotionally, intelligently connect with your team, with your customers, or your investors, no one will buy from you, believe in you, work for you, or invest in you. So emotional intelligence is the art of understanding what makes me feel good, what makes me productive, how do I connect my head and my heart towards the person that I'm speaking. It's like a chameleon. You know, when you see a chameleon, depending on where it's walking, it adapts and it changes the color. That's how we as humans is in control of our emotions, but also know how to connect. Because if I'm going to visit kids at an orphanage, it's different energy that I'm going to bring if I'm going to go on stage and there's 10,000 people in front of me. That is a completely different energy that if it's, if it's my mom's birthday, and a different energy if, I have a team at Academy of Entrepreneurs when we need to hack a solution for a really cool new product that we're building. So will require, like more coffee or green tea, or do I go for a run before I start the meeting to have a fresh brain? So exercise, what you eat, what you read, who you hang out with, the space that you work from, all of that influence, but only you know how that makes you feel. So for example, today I can see you're in a beautiful place in Batangas full of green. For me, that would hack my productivity to its fullest. I love the green. And I am a surfer, so I need to surf to recharge, but I get so much energy from being around the green. So if I need to work, if I was next to you right now on a table with my laptop, I'd be hacking one solution after another. But if you put, for example, in a hospital, the lights and the excessive white and the sadness that often, you get through the hospital, that would straight away kill my productivity, not just for that day, probably for many more days, because, it stays in you. So it's understanding those things. And going to your point about university, it's not that we shouldn't study. Like, we are forever learners. Like, I learn every day, and so do you. We learn through we learn through courses, we're constantly learning, but it's choosing where are you getting your information from. For example, you in school that helps people pass exams. That is, extremely needed, because if they don't get those skills, they won't pass the test. The Philippines, because I'm in the Philippines today for a couple more days, I visited a university called UANP, University of the Asian Pacific. They have a Bachelor of Entrepreneurship that is one of the greatest curriculums I've ever seen in my life. Where you're studying, you have to build a business. And if you don't have a business, you can't get in. If your business is not progressing, you can't stay there. University of Technology of Sydney in Australia is insanely good. All of the teachers are entrepreneurs and world leaders. I remember the students were learning accounting the other day when I visited the campus from the best YouTuber in accounting in the world. They had her guest speaker. So it's choose a degree that is in alignment with what you love and a career that that will exist. So if you're in digital marketing, you don't need a degree. If you can work at a marketing agency or just play with TikTok and Instagram, you will hack better solutions. But if you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to be a lawyer, depending on the degree that you like, if you want to, be a chef, you need to analyze this university to academic. Probably best that you intern with, your friend from your hometown, the TikToker celebrity chef. You would learn from her. Then, going to a traditional school that's going to make you read the book about the history of food when you should be learning about food, how to hold a camera for you to become a YouTuber in the food space. So it's before you make an academic decision, it's is this putting me ahead of the market trends? Are there industry leaders teaching me? Is this 4 hours from my house? I see people in the Philippines on a jeepney for 4 hours to get your qualification. By the time they arrive in the institution, their brains are dead because they're exhausted.
Correct.
That
Very nice insights, Paula. Because, I have to say this in Filipino, hindi po talaga kakulangan na hindi ka nakapag-aral. Yan yung the great debate between diskarte and edukasyon. Kami po naniniwala sa edukasyon. Get both if you can get both. Walang problema. Learn. Get your PhD if you want to. But it has to be aligned with what purpose you have in your life. And that comes from your skill. You don't have money to go to school, find a way. It's free in the social space, in the digital space. That's what she's trying to tell us. I'd like to tell you, I have 4 kids and I did not interfere with their choice of career. My eldest is a lawyer, my second is an engineer, my third became a nurse, okay, and wanted to be a doctor like my wife. wife, pero sabi niya, ayaw niya kasi gusto niya mag-work. She wants to work, she wants to enjoy life. And of course, my last is an architecture student. We used to ride horses, and now we're riding cars. And soon, we will be riding whatever in the
We
future.
won't even be riding the cars. Like, if you go to the US right now, the cars are self-driving cars.
Self-driving cars.
Not even the future. This is present and the past that existed for many years. You know, we're going to have self-driving cars that fly, you know, to become the EDSA solutions that we need here in the Philippines.
Yeah, what we're trying to say is things have changed, and we wish that education will change with it.
Yes.
Okay, I went to Singapore, by the way. This is my kwento. My story, Paula. I went to Singapore. It was a school day. I couldn't find a student. I asked the administrator, where are your students? And she said, they're all home. They only come to school for assessment, if they really learn what they should learn, and socialization and mentoring. The rest of the days, they stay at home because their teachers created the video already, and the students just need to watch the video by themselves. They have become self-directed learners, which is good. I think we should touch more on that in the future. And Paula, what's your advice?
Well, aligned to what we were talking about, you know, like, so you need to reinvent yourself. So all of the teachers out there, don't just read a book and give your students an exam. You now need to become mentors and tutors. So all teachers need to now upskill themselves, because in education, you no longer need to know the answer, because ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek will have the answers. Now, how do you ask the right questions for yourself to get those answers through AI? But how do you, as an educator, mentor the students? So there's going to be much more business opportunities and much more income for teachers as private tutors than being in the class, because the class no longer requires you to teach. It requires you to tutor and mentor the students. This is, you know, a massive trend, and every single industry is going through huge trends thanks to AI. And people were complaining that they were bored doing repetitive tasks. Hello, happy birthday, congratulations. We all have AI so that we can, you know, enjoy our lives and have meaningful work and being creators, because we're not job seekers, we are job creators. It's in our DNA, and AI is allowing us to do that.
And tell us, in closing, Paula, tell us your observation of the great Filipinos that you have met in your journey.
We work with students from all over the world. We've had 141 nationalities studying with us. The most creative generation right now are the Filipino high school students. It is almost embarrassing when I have on stage a Filipino and anyone else. I'm like, oh my God, I feel sorry for everyone else, because Filipinos are the most creative. They're the best at public speaking, the best at collaboration. So I truly believe the Philippines is on the path to become the greatest country in the world. So we need to develop, you know, critical skills, emotional intelligence, problem solving. So work on developing these skills, guys, so you can succeed, because around the world, like in Australia, when you say you're from the Philippines, you straight away get a job. Everyone straight away wants to invest into your business. Everyone wants to collaborate with you, because you guys as Filipinos have a superpower. So continue getting it out in the world, shining, doing what you love, and communicate this change you want to bring into the world, because Filipinos are kind, they're hardworking, but they're also creative. You don't need to apply for a job. You can create your own job. So have the strength and courage. Don't just freelance. Become an entrepreneur. Build your agency, build your business, create jobs for others, because people love working with Filipinos. So this whole mindset of Filipinos working, you know, in call centers and freelancers, stop that, guys. Create your business, create jobs for others. You can do so much more. And if you want to just speak to Carl and I, contact us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We're here to help you guys. So
all right,
social media channels.
An educator, you know, you own schools, and you're an international figure. To have heard that from you and your regard for the Filipinos, it's such really a refreshing Sunday morning with you. Mabuting balita, positibong balita. It was a positive news hearing it from a Paula Mill. Thank you very much for joining us today.